Welcome to the Friday Matinee. I am T, and I have no George today. What I do have is a Tori. Hi, Tori.
Tori in for George. Usually it's Tori in for T.
Yes,
now
and
it's Tori in for George.
Tori in for George, and here you are. So you've been in the rolly chair for a little while now. How's that going for you?
I love being in the rolly chair. The only part I do not like about the rolly chair is when I'm in the rolly chair, that means you're not in the rolly chair.
Oh,
and
that's so nice.
I don't like that.
Now, you like it when we're here together?
I love it when we're here together.
You like the TNT combination?
I love TNT.
The firecracker thing?
I do.
Yeah, you know, we're going to have to take a survey, though, to see how other people feel.
We love it.
We love it, but that doesn't mean everybody does. Well, thank you for being the co-host today. You know
Absolutely.
That I know you did it for me when it was just you and George, and now it's you and me. You're in for George, and I think we're gonna mix it up a little bit.
We're going to mix it up.
We're going to change the indentation on the rolly chair behind the board. That's
I
nice.
love it.
I like that. All right. Well, in the studio with us today, we have one of my favorite phrases ever to come out of the entertainment industry is the multi-hyphen. To call someone a multi-hyphenate. And the idea that once upon a time, you could be an actress or you can be an actor, and then maybe you could be something else, a singer, and very rarely could you be an author. And, oh my gosh, you certainly weren't going to be a director or producer.
Oh, no.
No, and now, today, with all the multiple platforms that are afforded to us, you know, it's no longer television, film, and radio or records and books. There are so many areas that a person can be creative, and you become sometimes your own cinematographer, you become your own editor. There's so many things you can do. In the studio with us today is a gentleman. You can look him up. You can find him on a website, RSMELLETTE, Robert Millett. He is an author, and he's got a whole lot of hyphens after his name. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Robert, welcome to AM 1220 KHTS.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. I feel like I'm in Grosse Pointe Blank.
Yeah, isn't it? Newhall is a very interesting area here on Main Street. We've got the Western Walk of Fame. Did you get to see that when you came through?
Yeah, a little bit.
Did you see any of your favorites?
Not yet. I didn't look too hard.
If you pass, go outside, you'll see Charles Bronson, and my brain just went dead. Who was the Lone Ranger?
Laura Ingalls. Who did Laura Ingalls on TV? What's her name?
That was Melissa Gilbert.
I just stepped on her this morning.
I know. You know, and don't break your mother's back and all that when it's your star. I don't know what goes, right? So, okay, Robert, I want to talk to you. Today, we brought you in for a couple of reasons, and one of the first things we're going to talk about is I met you at the Festival of Books down in USC it was this year, and you are an author with what looks like a very fun read. Billy Bobble Makes a Magic Wand. Now, magic is a thing.
Magic is a thing.
We all want a little magic in our lives. Tell me a little bit about Billy Bobble, how the writing thing came for you, and how Billy Bobble came to be.
Well, Billy Bobble came, which is really interesting to say on the radio without popping too many bees. He came about several different ways. So if you look online and find an interview and it's a different story, it's also true. But I started writing a while back, started with a stage play, and when I was a frustrated actor, and you know, it came out here, and my last audition was, I think there was one line, and it was, "No thanks, I'll just have a cup of coffee." And I did the line, and they looked at me like, "We're not giving you coffee." I was like, well, I nailed it. And
clearly, I motivated you to in the moment. I love that.
Yeah, exactly. So, I actually wrote a stage play that only trained actors can do. It's got sword fights and rhymed couplets and you know, choral speaking and just everything you learn in college.
You'd better be trained.
Yes, you'd better be trained. You can't touch that.
You don't come off the streets with that.
Yeah, it's still in my closet. So.
Well,
I have a lot. Like any writer, I have a lot of things in the drawer, as they say.
Well, we're going to introduce you to Canyon Theater Guild down the street before you leave today. We'll see about that.
Maybe we'll get that.
So the playwriting was the thing.
It came out of
Shakespeare would have said, you know. And then.
Oh well, then you know, I just kept on writing, and I worked, and I got on Xena Warrior Princess as a writer's assistant, and worked on that for a couple of years.
How did they trust you to do? How did all of a sudden you go from actor to now? How did they trust you to do that?
Oh, I was an office temp.
Okay.
And that is how some of the best careers are born. You can go to any studio head here, pretty much any studio head, and you'll find out that if not them, a lot of their underlings all came up the ranks through the mail. I mean, the old joke about you start in the mailroom, it's not a joke. There's a reason they say it. You learn everything, and if you're the right kind of observer, you become a sponge. And so I would assume you were taking it all in.
Very educational. I worked in every department Universal Studios has, and they probably have more now, but back then. So it was interesting, when I started in home video, it was this little place that nobody wanted to deal with. It was like, oh yeah, home video, those people over there, they're so far from production. Who wants to deal with that? And that was back in the day, and it just grew and grew, and now it's home entertainment, and it's everything to do with what's and you can't make a movie without a good home entertainment thing, and so it's very educational, but. I was temping somewhere. I think I was in the studio rental department. So I'm sitting there, and it's for if you want to rent the back lot or something. And I was answering the phone. Fax came in, and somebody handed it to me and said, "Here, this is the wrong number. Throw it away." And it was the startup budget for Xena Warrior Princess.
Sweet.
And I had temped for Renaissance Pictures, so I knew them. So I called them up and said, "Are you guys waiting on a fax from New Zealand?" And they went, "Yes. Can you send it to us?"
Right place, right time, and who you know.
Yeah, and I said,
the magic.
I wrote on it, "Are you looking for a script coordinator?" Because I can do that. I had done that on Mantis, and I sent it to them, and
next thing you know,
I became a writer's assistant. So that led to that. When then I was walking around the lot, and I ran into an old friend at Television Information Services. This is a long story.
We love that in radio, by the way. Just keep talking.
I ran into a friend on my first job in setting up computers for writers and production people and all that kind of stuff. And he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm working on Xena Warrior Princess." He said, "Oh, I'm doing the website." And this is back in 1995, 94, 95. So the
websites were
a whole new thing. He said, I'm doing the website. And I said, "Would you like to meet the writers?" And he said, "Yes, that would be great." So I set up a meeting between R.J. Stewart, the head writer, who's a great, great guy. Steve Sears was there, also a great, great guy. And I knew that whatever came out of that meeting would be if something writerly came out of that meeting, there would be nobody to be able to write it except me. I'm the only one who would have the time to do it. So we came up with the Xena Scrolls, which was a way of encapsulating each episode instead of just doing this episode was about blah, blah, blah.
It was a standalone.
It was a standalone thing. It was all just written. But I came up with modern-day scientists who were archaeologists who were finding and translating the ancient writings about Xena Warrior Princess. And, and translating those back and forth and arguing over this and that. And within reading their old emails, you could, back and forth to each other, you got to a new idea you got an idea of what the show was about. And so that grew and grew and grew until, when it started, they said, well, we don't have our contract with Renaissance Pictures doesn't include the internet. So we can't make any money at this, and so we can't pay you. And I was like, I'm fine. I'm being published by Universal Studios. That's fine. And as long as they couldn't make money and I couldn't make money, I was okay with that. Somewhere along the line, they said, IBM wants to put an ad on the Xena Scrolls. And at first I thought that it was for Big Blue, the Big Blue chess tournament between their computer and some chess master. And at first I thought it was a thing where they were going to point to our site. And I was like, okay, fine, yeah, let's do that, blah, blah, blah. Then it turns out, no, it was IBM was using our site was so popular, IBM was using it to advertise their thing. And
dun, dun, dun.
Beautiful.
Yeah, no, you have to pay me.
Now it's turned into something.
It was no longer, that was the end of the Wild Wild West for the internet. But they did an episode based on my characters, so it became the first intellectual property to go from the internet to television. Ooh.
We're talking with multi-hyphenate Robert Millett. You can learn more about his books and who he is by going to R.S. Millett, that's spelled Mellettee. He has a book. So your writing started to, a lot about fantasy, a lot about fiction, and you'd been writing for years. Billy Bobble
came about because I've always been a big fan of science. I wanted to be an astrophysicist when I was in high school, you know.
Well, that's not what I thought you were going to say.
I did not.
I did not see that coming.
The bridge from astroscience
Yeah,
to
no.
acting.
Yeah, no.
Another little story. I ended up on walking on the moon. True story. I'm walking on the moon with an old man who was like the nicest guy in the world, and he needed some help. It's very hard to walk on the moon. This is true. So I'm helping him walk on the moon, and we're telling the same story. When he was in high school, he wanted to be in astrophysics. He wanted to be on the deck of the Enterprise. You know, he wanted to go out into space and do all that stuff, but he wasn't very good at the actual nuts and bolts in science. I had the same problem. You know, I took AP chemistry and I was terrible at it. So I was like, I like this, but I'm not any good at it. So we're walking on the moon telling this same story. We shared that same experience. That was Dean Semler, who was he's a great director of photography. We were on the set of Nutty Professor 2, which was a dream sequence where he's on the moon. So together, he and I both wanted to get into space as kids. We both decided the only way to get there was through the entertainment industry. So there we are,
Okay.
walking on the moon in space.
There's the bridge.
There's the wrap up. So you sat down and decided children's books?
No, I've never thought of myself as a children's book author.
You just write what you like.
I write what I like.
That's what J.K. Rowling said, and other people read it.
Yeah, and other people read it. And coming from television, you know, I did a lot of 8 o'clock hour action. So like Xena Warrior Princess.
Family friendly.
Family friendly. You have to entertain whoever turns on the TV.
True.
You know, and whoever lands on that, you have to entertain them. I think of books the same way.
Whoever opens that book needs to be entertained.
Exactly. The publishing industry has a very hard time with that. You know, they're like, well, what age group? Like,
yeah, what does that mean? It should entertain everybody. And, you know, when people sit around the campfire and they tell stories, they're not usually thinking to themselves, okay, I've got Jenny over here who's 7. I got to cater to her. Over here, I got Grandma who looks to be about 87. Never ask a woman her age, but I got to cater to her.
Well,
you don't do
tough.
that.
It's tough because you've got the creative, then you have the marketing.
Right.
You know, they need
and,
them. You know.
and never the twain shall meet and see eye to eye.
Yeah.
But so you tell stories for the whole campfire.
Right. I try to. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. And Billy Bobble, I should say the log line for it, for those of you in the business. Billy is
Your
12
elevator
years,
pitch?
My elevator pitch, yes. Which is also the other reason you need an elevator pitch is in case you're trapped at a party with somebody.
Right,
you
and
don't
it
wanna talk
happens.
to.
That's called networking.
Well, no, if you're talking to somebody you don't want to talk to, and they say,
Oh.
"Oh, you write books? What's your book about?" So
Do you have different pitches?
Well, the elevator pitch, you can also go, boom, here's my elevator pitch. If I'm trapped with this person I don't want to talk to, I
There
say,
you go.
it's about Billy. He's 12 years old. His best friend, Susie Kwinoski, she's also 12. Billy's into quantum physics. Susie's into microbiology. Together, they've made a real working magic wand.
And at the right cocktail party, they go blink, blink, and walk away.
Yes, and then you go, or you say, and then, excuse me.
But
You
the
can walk away.
idea, I mean, they just opened up at Universal, thinking of the fact that you were there before, the Harry Potter Wizarding World. It's phenomenal. And one of the best locations on that lot right now is the Wand Store, Ollivander's Wand Store. So I think every kid likes this idea of, having enough magic to do things, and you feel powerless, and you're trying to grow up, and you're trying to navigate the world, and gosh, if there was just a wand that could make it better. So Billy Bobble didn't find a magic wand. The wand didn't find him. He made a magic wand with his quantum physics
Yes.
brain.
Yes.
I'm gonna need Billy's number because I would actually love, when I fill in for tea, I would love a magic wand to help
Right?
me out with
That'd
your
be good.
shift.
That'd be
Yes,
good.
So
Okay, again, we're talking with Robert Millett. You can find him at Robert S. Millett, MELLETTE.com. And everyone needs a little magic in their life. So Billy Bobble makes a magic wand. I want to read a couple of the reviews here. Tori, feel free to jump in. I love this first one. This book doesn't get boring. And I mean, there's so many books that, okay, so she says, this book just doesn't get boring. From the very first page, it grabs your attention. There's a lot of stuff happening. I just didn't want to stop reading.
Billy Bobble and Susie are hilarious characters. I love them separately and together. And I love a good read that's makes me laugh too.
And I love this. It's a cross between Harry Potter and Ender's Game, where science meets fantasy. This was a fast-paced book that was a lot of fun to read. Every kid wants that. But this business about science meets fantasy, I have lived long enough that stuff I saw on Star Trek,
yes, you and me both,
came to pass, and it's like, what? No. So that should say science meets fantasy meets your future, because it's all
eventually. This is my favorite though.
Which one?
This one. Plain and simple, a great read for children as well as adults.
Right, so
that's
anybody
my favorite
can.
one.
Yeah, even never be ashamed if you're reading a kid's book or a YA book. Never be ashamed, because it is, as far as I'm concerned, whatever's going to get someone reading is worthy.
Or if you are ashamed, just get a Kindle.
Get a Kindle. Get a Kindle or an old book cover. Yeah. And I love this one. This is from Books for the Soul, gave this review. I must have been under a magic spell reading it. Read it in one day, which I only do if the book is very good. I encourage all readers to pick up this book and spend an afternoon with the quantum physics knowing, often bullied, lovable Billy Bobble.
He's bullied?
Well, he's bullied, but he's really smart.
At some point, though, aren't we all?
Oh, yeah.
And to have a relatable character that's fantastic but gets bullied makes us feel like, well, we're okay, because we have fantastic parts, too.
And Billy does the homework for the football team. So only the uneducated bully him, because he has lots of very big friends. He also made a list of all of his bullies, and he makes sure he gets in on their good side.
Oh, interesting.
So, like one of the football players bullies him a lot, but he got his older brother through college doing his math and physics homework. So
I love this one too. I get it. You know what I said? That was my favorite quote. Well, I take it back. I love the fact. Here's why. Read it in one day.
Yeah.
We all know as readers, if you can't put something down,
you love it.
You can't. You're like, guys, I'll be with you in a second. Dinner? Okay,
no dinner, no laundry. No, I didn't make it to the grocery store. I got sucked into this book.
Yeah, you got to make it to the last page.
Which is fun.
Just can't wait.
Thank you. And just don't stop with the reviews. They're a blast. But as a writer, that's one of those fun things. I keep thinking. You picture the reader in your head, and you're thinking, yeah, you think you're going to go to sleep.
Well, keep them thinking.
Yeah, and I actually I learned that both from theater and from television. In theater, when you have an act break, people are going to get up and leave and go out in the lobby.
Yes.
And then you've got to leave them with enough desire to come back in. On TV, that was on Xena Warrior Princess. It was always, everything was about the act break. We must have someone in trouble, because commercial's going to come up. And, TiVo wasn't as popular.
Well, clearly but Billy Bobble makes a magic wand that we don't have that issue. You're going to want to read it in one sitting.
Now, in addition to being the writer in television, the writer for not the kids' book, this is everybody around the campfire. Everybody should be reading this. I do want to talk to you a bit before we have to go about your film festival, the other hyphenate, because you are multi. Give me all of your titles.
Gosh, let's see. What have I done? My degree's in acting.
Okay. So actor, writer.
I directed a feature film that got me into Dances with Films Festival, which is coming up June 2nd. At the Chinese Theater. I started volunteering for them ever since, because I won the Best Screenplay Award. So I wanted to make sure my award stayed worth something. So for 16 years, that was 2000.
Keeping this film festival going.
Yeah.
So it's the Dances
with Films.
Dances with Films, and it's taking place June.
June starts June 2nd.
June 2nd.
Through the next weekend over.
And it's in Hollywood.
Yeah, at the Chinese.
We always say out here at what you so lovingly refer to as Grosse Pointe Blank, we're close enough to Hollywood that we can go and have the whole experience, do the whole thing, and come home and turn that off.
Yes, exactly. It's at Hollywood and Highland, so take the metro.
So now, Dances with Films, what are you doing with them this year? Are you going to have any material shown? Are you working on a project?
Artistic cross-training from doing the LA Times Festival of Books and sitting down and going, wow, this is what filmmakers need as well, is to sit down and sell their own work, to get people involved so they can get reviews and more people can find out about it. I started doing the Dances with Films alumni store. So films that have been in past festival
have an opportunity to have a life.
To come back, and they sell their DVDs, and we'll have filmmakers sitting there. I sell my book.
Robert, you are a little magical because you started with the home version, the home entertainment that grew into the monster Victor Frankenstein never thought of. You then with the internet, and then that grew into, and now I'm going to get to know you. If George were here, he would say, this is the part where T and I give our headshots and our resumes. But you're a little bit magical. I sort of want to follow you just to see what the next big thing is and maybe buy stocks.
Here's hoping there's something to sell.
All right. So Dances with Films, people can go to that June 2nd. They can Google that too.
danceswithfilms.com, all run together, no spaces.
All right.
The website. We've got some fantastic films this year. I think there's over 100 and some odd films, including shorts and features.
There is something fun about seeing a film that was created in a theater, with the sound, with the audience, with that organic, and with the filmmakers. Q&As after too.
Oh yeah.
So and that's always fun to have an opportunity to hear what's going on, and then to read your book. What's your next magical project? Because here in Hollywood we all say you're as good as your next project.
Exactly.
What are you doing after Dances with Films, and besides promoting Billy Bobble Makes a Magic Wand?
Well, the second book, Billy Bobble and the Witch Hunt, is coming out soon. I'm all done with that. My publisher's, doing the stuff to make that happen.
Is it going to be? Is it going to be a series, a trilogy? What do you think we're looking at here?
Well, I've done the second book ends with the possibility of a third, and we'll see how the audience goes. I don't,
We have to take a break. You can follow Robert S. Millett again. Learn more about him at rsmellette.com and danceswithfilms.com. And we'll all be following you again, mostly for the stock market. This is Friday Matinee. We'll be back after these messages here on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.